It kind of reminds me of something Kobe Bryant said over and over again in interviews. He said, "Yeah, I wanted to be the best, but I wanted to be the best at what I could do." And the way that happened was I just loved the process.
Super important.
I just loved the process. It's interesting you said, most of these people are dead that you might think. And very unexpectedly for me this year, it's been Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm not even a sports fan.
Yeah.
But I was aware of Kobe and who he was and some of what he was about. But when that happened, I suddenly developed a deep interest in Kobe Bryant. Hearing people tell the stories, it's been fascinating to me. Why I still can't explain why I suddenly developed this fascination with Kobe, but I did.
I was devastated. Celebrity deaths are a weird thing. And I think when they happen to people that you have, I never viewed him as a hero. Anthony Bourdain, that one hit me hard too.
Yeah.
Because that's what I thought I wanted my life to be. And when he took his own life, I was like, maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree here. But Kobe Bryant's my age. We're the same exact age.
Oh, wow.
And so when he passed, and I didn't follow his basketball career very much. I was not a Lakers fan. I thought he was a selfish player. And a lot of that, because we were the same age, social media and Facebook and Instagram weren't around in the way that they were YouTube the early part of his career. So you didn't really get to know him in that way that you do these current stars. So now I'm finding on YouTube all these, like you said, the stories, the behind the scenes clips, interviews that he's given about this absolutely ferocious mentality that he had.
Yeah.
And, he had the rape case and all that sort of stuff. And I just thought he's like a bad dude. He's not a good guy. Like there's nothing about this guy I like.
That's what I thought as well.
And then you hear people talk about how he and his wife moved through that and got through that and how he loves his daughters. And I'm just like, he's a family man. And I'm like, this dude really changed. Like he really changed. And maybe that's possible for me. And then he's gone.
Yep.
And then I'm like, what the heck was all that for then? Like this dude has such a drive, such a motivation to be the absolute best at what he did. Right now for this season, something happens whenever I hear his name or see a video with him in it or a photo of him. And I'm going back and reliving and rewatching a lot of these old games with him or highlights or interviews. And I'm kind of drawing strength from that. I'm like, if that guy can push through like that and it was still worth it to him, even though he lived a short life, like I'm going to show up every day. And I also realized he was a really mean guy.
Yeah.
He was a mean guy.
He was a human. Yeah. I look at Kanye. There's the dude who's really changed. Apparently. I mean, we won't know the whole story until it's told. Yeah. That's part of the whole mystique of celebrities, though, really, because now we get to watch them grow old. Like they don't get the luxury of just fading into the shadows because of social media and there's so much drive and demand. And then some of them just can't stop being public. Like William Shatner. He just can't stop being in front of the camera. And so we get to watch him become an old man. And I realized he was a hero of mine at one point. And I realized eventually he's getting old just like my dad. And he's like saying some of the same weird things my dad says. It's happening to us all. This has all happened before. It will all happen again.
It will. And it's kind of humbling. It's kind of sobering.
Question.
Father time. Yeah.
Go ahead. You're on.
I was just saying Father time always wins.
That's true. So here's my question. I have, for a long time, a huge portion of my life, idolized people who were the best of the best. Like came into a field like Kobe or like Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins redefined the whole motivational speaker. I mean, he coined the term life coach. He's the guy who did that. and became a peak performance coach, and he's become the biggest of that. He redefined the category. He became the category. He still dominates the category. Do you think that to be that kind of achiever, you have to have an unhealthy obsession?
Yeah, I do. I
do too. I think it used to be that was the target for me, was to be like that in some field. And then I feel like I had the revelation one day that, to do that, you have to have a certain particular kind of mental illness to get there.
You know why I know that? It was all those years of working in church. I saw people with the most delusions of grandeur in that world. And I'm not I'm not broad brushing the whole thing. That please, I worked in church for years. I just hated it. I just could not. I'm like, hey, Dave, chill the heck out, man. We have 800 people in a church outside of Hartford, Connecticut. There's 2 million people that live in that city. We're not transforming the city. Stop it. That's, I think, what
but
really.
I'm the 13th apostle.
No. Yeah, exactly. And I think that really colored the way I approach marketing. I realized that's why when I found myself in this space, I had no tolerance for this kind of stuff. We have a community of 20,000 people, and that's wonderful. It means nothing in the grand scale of things. So if you can serve those people, whether they're 20,000 or 20, show up the same way.
Yeah.
But if you're if you're always pushing, I do think that there is an unhealthy obsession. I look at Kobe and I chew the meat and I spit out the bones, right? That's what I do. And in some industries, you can do that. Like, a guy can't devote that much time to working out and playing basketball if he doesn't have a helicopter to go to practice through LA traffic.
Right.
And that particular industry affords him the lifestyle to do that. But he had the same 24 hours in the day that I do. I just can't scale certain things because of the industry that I'm in, or because of the fanfare, whatever it is. But to your point, I actually, strangely enough, never wanted to be the best in anything. And I think it's because I never wanted to lose my sense of self-identity. Even when I was working in church, where so much of that world is wrapped up in what you do and who you are by a title. I didn't want to be called by a title, even though people insisted it. I held on to those things very loosely. And I think that's also what allows me to be open-handed and generous to people even now, with connections and whatever and opportunities. I just never wanted to get caught up in that stuff. And maybe that comes back to I just want to live a simple life, live on the beach, read books. But I never wanted to be the best in the world at something. I want to be good at it to the best of my ability.
I did want to be the best. I gave that up at some point along the way. It was not a defining moment. It's just a growing realization that in my opinion, in my humble but accurate opinion, you have to have near pathological obsession to reach the pinnacle of any big career, to be known as the best in the world at that. And I realized I don't want that. I do still have a drive to do something meaningful and important, although I find myself continuously redefining what that means. I mean, for the longest time, I actually thought what I was doing, writing copy and helping people with marketing stuff, was silly. I thought, this is ridiculous. There are people who build bridges. That's important work. There are people who create electronic navigation systems for aircraft. That's important work. There are medical professionals. There are teachers, for crying out loud. This was my mindset for so long. I suffered from a lot of insecurity about advertising and marketing. That seems superfluous. I can never say that word, superfluous. Silly. I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like I've seen enough of the impact that the work I've done has had with people and allowed them to have their own success, and it's been meaningfully impactful in their lives. And so I love that. I guess that's what I'm after. I'm after meaning. I want to have time to read books because I love reading books. I want to write books. I've heard that saying, I don't love to write books. I love to have written them. I actually do love the writing process when I give myself enough time to actually do it. So that's been one of the things that not doing so many of the busy things lately has helped me with.
It kind of reminds me of something Kobe Bryant said over and over again in interviews. He said, yeah, I wanted to be the best, but I wanted to be the best at what I could do. And the way that happened was I just loved the process.
Super important.
I just loved the process. I saw one of the last videos I saw most recently was he shot a direct video for some young kid who was trying out for the basketball team like the next day. He had no idea who this kid was. And he's like, hey man, just, don't worry about what other people are thinking. Go out and do your best. I wish I could give you a magic wand and make it all easy. Well, actually, no, you know what? I don't wish I gave you a magic wand. I'm glad there's no magic wand because it would take away the joy of being in the process.
Yes.
Because doing the work is fun. And that's what I've learned from him, if anything.
Yes. That's so funny. We've never discussed this, but I had the same learning experience, and that transformed me. That's transformed me in the last few months as I've looked at the work I'm doing, and I'm realizing I've decided to continue or renew my enjoyment of the process. And things that I can't enjoy the process, I'm just not going to do it anymore.
It's fun to build things.